Welcome back to Charter California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerantz. Our guest is Jeff Kellogg. He is the president of the Long Beach Community College District. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
And I want to speak with you about funding for community colleges. I think it's fair to say this year is better than last and the last few years. In the new budget, there's a 5% bump, general fund bump, for all higher education systems in California. What do you make of it as it relates to community colleges?
Well, I'm glad you said all higher education, because for the community college system in California, we did get more funding. But what I want people to understand is it still has not reached the levels from 2007 when the continuing cuts that you mentioned took place. So we still are in a deficit, but we are at least moving in the right direction.
I want to talk about 2007 because when we look at the K-12 system, their base grant has returned to 2007 levels. And while there's no doubt that we all have a soft spot for K-12, why is it that K-12 is being treated so differently and is the preferred child as opposed to community colleges, UC or CSU?
Well, I think you have to start with, in politics, it's who has clout in Sacramento, and you have the California Teachers Association, organizations such as that, which has much more clout than community colleges.
But UC and CSU, I mean, they're strong organizations.
But the difference is, in the community college system, we do have a very loose organization with trustees, for example, but we're all independent. There's 112 community colleges, so we don't have the force that the other higher education, UC, Cal State has, and especially K-12. So it just is it's always been an issue with the community colleges, and we make the best with it. But in all fairness, we're the workhorse. We are the ones that really do carry the most in higher education. We are actually the best value to the taxpayers of California, and yet for whatever that reason is, that argument still doesn't get us the funding we need.
But often community colleges will be, I'll say, lumped in, and there'll be funding for K-14.
Right.
So why couldn't we see a K-14 situation?
There's actually a little bit of that involved still today with Proposition 98, where exactly that is where people somewhat lump us in there. But still in that formula, community colleges, and there's a little bit of this with community colleges, their attitude in Prop 98, for example, is that, well, at least we know we get a guaranteed to a certain threshold. But unfortunately, that threshold still doesn't address the needs of community colleges today. And so it's a little bit of people being exceptionally cautious, and also the bigger picture of who has the most political clout. But it's unfortunate because really community colleges are the ones that do provide the best value.
And let's talk about some of the value that community college students get. Recently, you officiated at a pinning ceremony for the nursing program at Long Beach City College. You must be very proud. The new nurses in white.
That's right.
Soon to be new RNs in red. Is that right?
It actually is. The RNs are the ones that you notice they're wearing the white, except for the men. Right. They're wearing their traditional nursing hats. Those are the RNs. The ones on the left, the ones that aren't wearing the white uniforms, are the ones that are working towards an RN. But the thing I'd like to point out in that picture, almost everyone in there that you see have a job waiting for them.
And that's what's stunning about the nursing profession, is that there continues to be a dearth of nurses in California and the Southwest. And as I understand it, I mean, you can start at close to 6 figures in the nursing profession, if not there.
Well, I hope that's the case for a lot of reasons, because my daughter is leaving for college next year, out of state, unfortunately, but and she's in the nursing program. Because with the new rules and regulations with nursing, you're going to see nurses take on a lot more responsibilities that doctors traditionally have done in the past. So it's a great program, and Long Beach does a phenomenal job, and I was really honored. That's a great event to go to. The families are there, the people are working hard. And
actually, one of my earliest memories from many decades ago was going to my aunt's nursing graduation from Valley College. You know Valley College, and it was a great moment, and she's still a nurse 30, 40 years later.
They are all there. Great stories, people that first time in college from their families to people that have worked for many, many years. So it's always an uplifting event, and trust me, you look for uplifting events in community colleges now because there's a lot of difficult issues we deal with.
And let's talk about some difficult issues, and that specifically focuses upon, as it relates to Long Beach City, the question about programmatic cuts. We know there was tremendous contention earlier this year with regard to the elimination. It wound up being 11 programs.
Starting with 17, 19 programs.
And so talk to us about how the process is spinning out and where we go from here in light of the fact that we have seen a 5% bump in budgets.
Well, again, and people have also brought in Proposition 30 when I talk about that. So
passed in November.
Here's how I explain it, is that the cuts that have taken place since 2007, and the cuts that have taken place actually in the last year as well, the last budget cycle, Prop 30 backfilled those cuts, but it didn't fill it entirely.
It's not new money.
So it's not new money. That's the best way I can explain it.
5% is new money.
5% is new money, but how that is for all the higher education, so it's not directly to, and so there's a lot of other, the devil's always in the details of budgets.
But it's also, it's 5% after you've been cut, what, 25%?
Oh yeah, we've been cut, it's phenomenal.
Very significant.
So it really does make a difference. But the answer to your question as far as so where we are, the programs, we've discontinued those programs, and we went through a long process, open, fair process, data-driven process. And what I was most proud about, even though it was a horrible process because you're cutting programs and they all meet the mission of the college, what I was probably most proud about is that we didn't fall to the political influences of just doing it for political reasons only. That's when you get in trouble. And we've talked about in the past of what got City College of San Francisco in trouble because they just recently lost their accreditation, the largest community college in California, 80 to 100,000 students. One of the reasons they lost their accreditation is because they were making decisions based on political influences or personal agendas.
So what happened? So they've lost it? They're not on?
They are proceeding now. The next step is they actually have an appeal, but in the 14 areas that they were cited by the Accreditation Commission, they addressed only 2. So they still have 12 of the 14 that they have not addressed. They're given an opportunity.
Are they on show cause or they're done?
No, they are now. They're beyond show cause. Now they actually in the process are allowed to essentially appeal the decision of the Accreditation Commission that they've lost their accreditation. And then after that point in time, there's a lot of other steps that take place. The only other college, by the way, is Compton College that's lost their accreditation.
And they were taken over by Carson, was it?
They were taken over by El Camino. There was 2 colleges that could have taken over, Long Beach or El Camino, and actually Los Angeles, and El Camino ended up taking over. The problem you have here is you have a college, San Francisco City College, that is 80 to 100,000.
It's the largest.
It's the largest. And a lot of people said it was too big to fail.
So what's going to happen?
Well, they are going to have to find a way to stay accredited, which means they're probably going to have to make tremendous reforms. The biggest reform that's going to take place, which people may or may not understand, and I'll roll it back to Long Beach, but the chancellor for California appoints a special trustee.
But I had thought that when you get put on sanction, you have to have a plan in place to literally shut down.
They did. That was part of the show cause. They have to begin to show what the process is going to be to shut down their college.
But are they not going to shut down?
No, they'll, because they still have to offer so much. So the best scenario is going to be they will make the changes by this special trustee that I mentioned. Special trustee, by the way, takes the place of all the other elected trustees. It's a very direct approach to try to fix the problems. Now, the reason I bring it up, and when people talk to me about what I hear about in Long Beach, is you'll hear people when we have cuts, well, get rid of administrators. That's always an easy thing to do unless you're an administrator.
Right.
The other one they'll talk about is they'll talk about not getting rid of any programs because they have value. That's exactly the model that the City College of San Francisco did. They actually replaced their administrators and put faculty members into those spots. They never cut any programs, even though they were no longer really efficient.
Right.
And so when people ask why we do things at Long Beach, because we're a model on how you should do things. If you want to see a model on how you shouldn't do, unfortunately, City College of San Francisco is that example.
So what's going to happen? I mean, you work, in addition to being a trustee, you work in the area.
I work for a company, actually, a gentleman by the name of Mike Moss, who was an administrator at Long Beach when I was a student there.
That's amazing.
And showing how decades later he became my mentor, taught me the business, and working with community colleges in particular on educational facility master planning, accreditation compliance. And you learn how what colleges need to do, real simple. You need to live within your means, and unfortunately, we are funded by the state of California. We don't have.
You can't set your own tuition fees.
No, people like to think whenever there's an increase in our tuition, even though it's very reasonable, it's still set by the state legislature, and all that money goes into the general fund, and then it's allocated to, among other people, community colleges. But we compete with prisons and all the other,
of course. Okay, his name is Jeff Kellogg. He is president of the Long Beach Community College District. My name is Brad Pomerantz. We thank you so much for watching Charter California Edition.